Hello, YouTube! Welcome to Voicing Artists' Original Characters. This is episode 41, I believe. We are working with a character today who is very cool, very down to earth. The artist is named Makshin, pronoun she, her, and our character is named Keith Casimiro, or Casey for short, pronoun she, her. So for Casey, we actually have one of our character sheets where the artist has given us traits about things that they like and things that they have interest in and questions about them and nicknames, which some artists do when they're developing characters. Now this one is a beautiful portrait piece. I really like the art style of this. It's very different from our more like anime-ish style. And this one is very like smooth. It's painterly almost, where the sky is this almost like meshed together oily thing of clouds and a blue punctured with this like whitish cream maybe is a good color for what the clouds color are, and then it's got the white seagulls or white birds in the background, and it has this beautiful sunlight that is coming around the edge of her face and her hair here and her body that I think is really pretty coming along the side. She also has headphones in and a pretty decent like DSLR style camera. This will come into play in a bit because we're going to talk a little bit about why she has a camera and what exactly she's into and or does. She's also got some pretty heavy clothing on for this weather, so I'm guessing it's not quite summer weather. It's a bit chillier because she's got a big jacket on here, and I love the flowers in the back. So this is her like fixing the lens or holding the camera. She is wearing classic camera strap, like photographer style. This one in particular I really like because she's got an expression on her face that is not smiling, it's not sad, I wouldn't even call it angry. It's a very weird expression to where I'm like, what exactly is her emotion in this moment? And the last picture we have is her headshot, which is just a very basic, very simple smile. So let's get into those artist personality traits. This is one of their main characters for their upcoming story, Read Between the Lines. Casey is a photojournalist, which is why every time we see her with like this camera in one of these shots because she's a photojournalist. So photojournalists are people who are taking the pictures when articles in the paper or online or video news are talking about like the news, whether it's wars, whether it's, local news, whether it's animal news, whatever it is, she's the person going out to take the pictures. So some character personality traits that the artist gave me. Casey is very easygoing. She vibes with every person she meets. The last thing that the artist said was that sometimes she gets a little too competitive, especially with the things that she loves. So I would imagine if she's going to like get photos for a certain, article that she cares about or a news story she's covering, and there are other maybe slimier or less practiced people trying to get shots and sell them before her, she might get a little competitive and maybe not do things the right way. So I have some notes for Casey, the character that we are working on today. Only a few personality-wise because I do think the artist gave us ones that are very descriptive and we'll be able to use. But my notes for Casey are breezy, carefree, level-headed, all terms that go with the idea that she's easygoing and vibes with all people. I also have, on the opposite end, where we get to the competitive side, I have confident, because you have to be strong and confident in your abilities and what you do and what your job is and what your career is and what your passion is in order to do something like photojournalism. Because a lot of people are either going to shut you down or you're going to be in dangerous situations trying to get the gig and get the photo. So it makes sense that she has some confidence in her abilities. And I also have ambitious and resourceful. I think with her competitive nature and with the field she's in, she has the capabilities to not only gung-ho and try to get better photos or get better positions or do a better job than maybe some people who are lazy but outrank her, I think she is ambitious enough to say, I can show that I can do better than you. I also think she's resourceful because you're not going to have a lot of things handed to you in that type of a career. You have to go get them. You have to seek them out. You got to get in between and offer people things in order to get the info you need. The last one I have is bold or gutsy. You have to get in the action. You have to get right up in the danger. You have to be able to throw yourself and your own sense of self-worth and your own life out of the way in order to get the information and the pictures. She's got to be bold and brave in some way. The other one that I want to look at here is the portrait. It's kind of a neutral expression, but with the little glow in her eyes and just the teeniest bit of positioning of her head turning, I would argue that you could say it's still a bit of a smile or comforting. This one, though, I would say is closer to, oh, this is a beautiful landscape. This is a beautiful shot. I'm gonna get a picture of this. And it's just kind of taking in the moment of, wow, this is really nice, I'm thankful to be here, rather than, oh my goodness, I'm really happy. And I think that stands out in this image with not just that, but the lighting as well, because it's a very soft glow, which is further emphasizing the idea that this is a soft and gentle happiness moment. And we might take from this picture in order to do our scene for happiness. We'll see. So this one has a much bigger smile. It's almost as if she's seeing a friend and she's like, oh, hey, right? Or she's laughing or giggling about their joke. It's open-mouthed. Her body pose is one arm over, so a little closed, but the rest of her is very wide and open. Her hand is in her pocket, a little bit more casual. Her hair is just kind of free going, her head's turned. So this is a bit more of what we think of when we do the happiness emotion, which is free flowing, a little bit louder, a little bit funnier, a little bit more physical. So let's do this happy line of dialogue. So we'll start with this one, and we'll probably keep this one on the screen, and then we'll see if we can transition. For her vocal tone, I am thinking that I want to keep her voice a little bit lower, because oftentimes folks who are cool, collected, gentle, easygoing don't tend to be super high-pitched because they don't necessarily feel the need to be as loud, to be as yelly, to have their voice be heard. So they're a bit, quieter, softer, lower voice. They don't use as much effort when they speak. All right, let's try this happy line of dialogue. No, I get it. What? I just think you're funny, okay? Am I not allowed? Do you not want me to think you're funny? I don't know. Not everyone can pull out the energy that you do. Maybe that's why we're friends. Hey, do you see that? Look, over there. Yeah, that's a beautiful sunset. That's a beautiful sunset. Huh. Never thought we would be out this late to see something like that. Oh, I gotta get a picture. Huh. I'm glad we're here. And we could witness this together. Oh, I like that. I like the transition of like, no, you're funny, I enjoy you, like we're friends, we're hanging out, we're really happy, to a soft, gentle like, oh, let's live and breathe and take a second in this beautiful, happy moment that we are here and we are witnessing. I think it's a very good combination of those two different forms of happy for Casey, because I think she lives in both of those strongly. It went a lot differently than I thought it was going to, because I thought that it would be a harsher transition or a slower transition, maybe a better way of saying it, from, haha, this is a moment I'm enjoying, to now we're calm and we're enjoying and we're living in this beautiful, peaceful moment. But she talks relatively quickly. which is not something I was planning. I like to naturally let that occur, but for some reason, it just felt kind of right for her to be someone who talks and not someone who's sitting on the sidelines and quiet and silent. She has a lower voice. She's definitely easygoing, a little contemplative, likes to listen to the other person, but she's not someone who doesn't have words to form her thoughts. She's not someone who is actively choosing not to speak. She's here. She'll tell you what she thinks. She's confident enough to give you her answer, to take initiative and be like, hey, look at that. We should watch that. That's really cool. To acknowledge the moment she's in. So I think that pulled out a lot of the confidence that I had mentioned, because we went into it feeling a bit too complacent. And the character itself pulled away that complacency. And while we were doing the improv, was like, no. Remember, we're confident. We take initiative. And mixed it together to create a really interesting result. So next, after we've done happy, we're going to do angry. So I think I want to move to this picture, because again, this picture gives me really weird emotion energy. I don't know that it's angry. I don't know that it's sad. It's not happy. It's hard to wrap my head around and to vocalize what exactly this picture is giving in terms of energy, in terms of emotion. I don't know if I want to fully define what kind of energy this picture is giving me. We're going to do our angry emotion, but what if we just play with whatever type of angry and with whatever extra feelings come with it based on a scene that we create around this picture? Let us use what the artist has given us in the dishevelment of her hair, in the way that she's looking over her shoulder and not turning her body to face the person she's talking to, in the way that her mouth is shaped in a way almost where she could be yelling, she could be making fun of someone, she could be upset. Her hands are still focused on her camera. They're holding it strong, as if she was in the moment trying to pay attention, and she doesn't want to give whatever is distracting her any ounce of her time or her creative brain or anything, right? She wants to be focused in on what is occurring. Something is taking her out, and that's causing her to have a reaction. I want to take the energy of what the artist has given us here and really roll with it to see if it gives us and feeds our idea of anger. Will it feed into frustration? Will it feed into impatience? I don't know, but we'll find out what it goes into. Scene-wise, I like the idea that someone is either teasing her or telling her not to do it or distracting her from the shot, and this is her response moment. So if we want to tinge it a little bit with anger, I'm thinking that the person who's distracting her has to have some sort of either authority over her, or perhaps they have negative intentions, whether they mean to have that or not, they do. Or maybe they're making a comment that irks her and sits with her in a way that makes her feel inferior or unwanted or uneducated, etc., etc. I like this idea that there is a rival photographer there who does sort of what she does, and he maybe outranks her a little bit, or at least is seen as someone who is her superior, even though his photos aren't as good as hers, or he doesn't know the techniques that she knows, or maybe he does things a little underhanded and in a way that they shouldn't be done. And also, not only are those methods sort of swept under the rug, but they are almost ignored maybe by people who take his photos and pay him for his photos, because since he's sort of breaking rules, he gets really good shots. And so other people are enabling him, and he has this great reputation, even though she knows the underside of it. And so maybe we get a little upset when he tries to commentate on the way she's doing things or how she's not as good as him, etc., etc. So let's try that for our angry and see how it goes. If I wanted your advice, I would ask, you are only the top journalist because everyone is too afraid to say what you've really been doing to get those pictures. Some of us have ethics and morals and actually care about the stories we are telling instead of just trying to, I don't know, get a paycheck and not caring about the people we might hurt in the process. Listen, you can talk about my skills or my lack of experience, or hell, you can come at me because I'm a woman. But do not come after my character, because I promise you, you won't win that fight. And for the record, my photos are way better than yours. I love that that's what her energy pulled out of me, is the little snapback, the little insult, the funny quip at the end. She really did come across as like genuinely angry because she's like, listen, you need to stop talking. Your ego's way too huge for a man that is rude, for a man that doesn't care about the people he hurts, etc., etc. I will not go down that road. I don't care if it would get me a better photo. I'm not willing to do that. Like, don't insult my character. There was definitely anger in there. I could feel it. It was interesting because in a calm, cool, collected character, the anger doesn't yell. It doesn't scream. It doesn't physically come out. It barely vocalizes. In these types of characters, it is pinpointed. It is targeted. Sometimes it is hot. Sometimes it is spiky. But it's not all over the place. It's not a firecracker. It's not a fire like a lot of anger in more forward characters are. These characters, if they're going to be something hot like that, they tend to be bubbly. And I think that's what hers was there was a little bit of a bubble, but it didn't bubble and bubble and bubble and volcano. It was almost like tar or the magma that's like still going to hurt you and still vicious and still deadly, but it's slow moving and it'll grab you from your feet and start burning and singeing and damaging you before you realize that you're in it. And then you're like, uh-oh. And that is where her anger came from. It's also how it displayed, was she didn't have this instinct of getting loud or even trying to take the power from him. That was something that resonated while I was doing the piece. A lot of times when we are angry, we are trying to gain control back. We are trying to take power away from the thing that made us angry and give the power back to ourselves. She did not need to do that. Her confidence in who she is, what she does, and herself as a character, her own beliefs, her own moral standpoints were strong enough that her anger didn't need to take control because it hadn't lost control. It didn't need to take power because it didn't lose the power. All it did was spread, and it needed to make the person she's talking to remember who she is and remember that they're on the same footing. If not, she's above them. And so it was interesting to play with a character whose anger did not feel the need to go directly for the throat. It was a very calm, just like her, very low anger of, I'm upset that other people listen to you. I don't like you. I want you to know I don't like you. But I don't need your approval. I just don't like you. And I think you need to be pushed down a peg. And that came through very tangibly. In the vocal, the pace that she spoke at, a lot slower, not super slow compared to some we've worked with, like medium. There's a bit of a speed up in there, but she was dragging her words. So it was evident there. And she kept the low, she kept the growl. She added a lot of like what sarcastic characters do, where they've got spite in their words and they're almost flinging attitude at you. Very attitude heavy anger. And then at the end, she had flipped it and gave this comeback, this quip of like, oh, but you are shit and I'm better. And I love the fact that she felt the need to end it in a bit of, if you don't believe me, or if you aren't listening to what I have to say, my photos are still better than yours. So it's not just about character. I am actually better than you on an intellectual level. So there was a little bit of pleasure in that end statement. And I don't think it's wrong or immoral to have your anger have a little bit of vindictiveness in it, a little bit of pleasure in it. And I was not planning for her to get quippy. A lot of angers don't. But something naturally just wanted to have this ending line of like, oh, I'm the one with the last word, and the last word was good. And I love when natural instincts take over and really hone you into the character. So that was fun. And I love that for her anger. Our last one is sadness. So what would make Casey sad? Well, if what makes her happy is just sort of living and breathing in a very nice moment, experiencing on a calm level her friends and maybe beautiful sights, and then what makes her angry is someone else getting the recognition and keeping the recognition that she knows she can beat, then perhaps something that would make her sad, because we've given her such a strong moral compass, the sadness could come from watching people, especially people's lives, get affected in the news articles and the journalist articles that she writes about. Because she might go for things that have deeper or heavier topics in order to make an impact. And I think sometimes those things can be really saddening. They can really hit us hard. And if she, meets and speaks with a family who has gone through some sort of tragedy, or people who are living in a tragic place, that might strike a chord with her and make her upset and make her more passionate about getting the article out there. For her sad, I do want to use that situation where, let's say she is taking photos of, so we're going to say it's a building collapse, maybe it's an apartment complex or something, and she is taking photos of it for the article, for the journalism, and then she has the ability to speak with some of the families that were affected, and that strikes a chord with her and makes her kind of sad, makes her upset, and then she will be in this moment, and I think the moment will end with a little bit of positivity because it just kind of feels like that's the nature of her personality. Let's see here. Let's do our sad line with that scenario. Hi. I'm with Action News. I'm the journalist investigating the building collapse. I was hoping I could speak with you about how it affected you, maybe your community, if that's okay. Yeah, I understand. Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was... That's terrible. Are you okay? Is your family okay? I understand. Not having a place to go can be traumatizing, scary, and no hotels will let you have a night or two, or any insurance, or you couldn't afford insurance. I'm sorry. I wish I had the answers for you. I do. I don't really know what to say. What if I can see if maybe I can see if I can scrounge up funds or something to give you a place and a shelter for a night. Would that be helpful? Yeah. I'm sorry I couldn't do more, genuinely. Okay. I'll contact you as soon as I can. Yeah, that's kind of the route I thought it was gonna go, is like this very gentle, very almost motherly, like the mother friend of the group, where she is sad and hurt that these other people are suffering and that they have no place to go now. You know, they might be safe physically, but maybe the news or the people don't care about them. But what are they supposed to do, right? They don't have a place to go. Nothing will cover hotels or shelters or things like that. So I think while she would be in this moment of like genuine sadness and feeling for this group and wishing that she could magically fix all their problems, which did resonate, she also is very much a solution-based person. And she is very much a talkative person, which again, I never would have expected from her. But in all of these pieces, she has enough confidence, she has enough control that she is someone who continuously is trying to speak her truth. She is sort of a person who is less based in emotions taking over and more based in how can I help? What do I need to do? What is the solution? What do we say? She takes action. Rather than letting the feelings take control, she takes actions. And sometimes those actions come in what do I say? How do I comfort? Etc. And when she realized that she couldn't comfort with words, she didn't have anything that would make them feel better or make her feel better in this moment, her brain goes to, I have to try. I have to do an action. I have to start something. I have to help. And that is where this idea of like, well, let me see what I can do. Let me raise funds. Let me do whatever I can. And this nature of someone who is a protector, who is a guardian, who is solution-based comes forward. And I think that sits with her personality and what the artist told us about her and what we've been finding out about her really well. And I love playing characters like that because it really gives you an insight into how they prioritize other people, other people's emotions, other people's scenarios. And she still sat in her sadness. She still sat in her grief with these people. But she was able to sit in it and then realize that this grief is coming through empathy. So her way of not just wallowing in this sadness through this empathy of feeling for this family is by fixing the problem for the family. Because if she can make them feel comfortable and happy and solve their issue of not having a place to go, now they are supported and so is she. She doesn't need to sit in her own emotion. She doesn't need to fix her emotion. She goes straight to the source, like a photojournalism would. Go to the source to figure out what the issue is, recognize it, and do what she can about it. I love that for Casey. Okay, so that is all that we are working with Casey today. Thank you to our artist, Makshin, for letting us work with this character. She was a lovely, lovely person to get into the mindset of and really feel out and voice today. Reminder that she is a main character of Makshin's story, Read Between the Lines. So follow Makshin on Instagram or wherever you find them. Thank you for stopping by. You are always welcome to join us live in chat, 9 p.m. EST on Mondays and Wednesdays. We have an excellent time, and I love hearing suggestions. Otherwise, enjoy your day. Goodbye!